Neil Sean here. Now don't forget to join me, which is coming very soon, an exclusive full interview with an original Windmill Girl. Now if like me you've always been fascinated by that particular venue in the heart of London, of which I've been lucky enough to work in a few years back now, then do join me where we find out all the inside track on what it was like to become an original Windmill Girl. Not only that, Jill tells us all about her time working there with some of the many greats that crossed her path, including the wonderful Mr. Ray Allen, Mrs. Shufflewick, Sir Bruce Forsyth and so many more. That's all coming exclusively to this channel. Don't forget to like, share, become a friend and of course follow me on all social media. I'll see you soon. Thank you so much. Arthur English was one of my favourite character actors in latter years, but he played this spiv, didn't he? You know, like Cockney spiv. For those that don't know what a spiv is, I suppose the best way to describe it in modern day terms would be like a Del Boy Trotter now, wouldn't it? I guess.
Yes.
Into everything.
Dodgy.
Bit dodgy.
Yeah.
What was Arthur like, and what was his act like when you worked with him?
Well, I don't remember following him on stage, but we were on stage with him in certain scenes. We did Arthur of Arabia. So he was in full Arabian gear. I can't remember any of the scripts that go with it, but another one that I did do scenes with him where we did feed the comedians lines was what was it? It was a pub, and he was the pub landlord. So he was pretty good at that, and we had to feed him lines and be customers in the pub. But I can't remember any of the comedy that went with it particularly, but because we did so many shows. Hundreds of them.
I find that fascinating, you see, Jill. Like you are working with a professional comedian. You're professional in your own role, but then you're having to feed lines too.
Yes.
And that's quite an art form in itself, because if you get that wrong, the whole comedy element falls down, doesn't it?
Oh, the Windmill Girls could do it.
Yeah,
they were fine. Yeah.
But did you ever think, when you were reading some of these things, did you think this is funny? Or when you're young, you think, why is this funny?
It's not funny until you're faced with Arthur English.
Yeah.
Then it's funny, because just reading it cold, is this funny? Yeah. But it's suddenly when they say it, it is.
Yeah.
You know, when you're faced with a professional comedian, that's different and hilarious. I mean, sometimes we could hardly speak ourselves because just the sight of some of them on stage with you, and they did muck about. Now and again, or change things, and so they were a bit naughty.
And then you were allowed to keep it.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Yeah, there were some lovely pictures of you looking very much like a beat girl of the '60s, and you're with Cliff Richard.
Oh, you've seen those pictures.
And
okay.
Vince Eager.
Yes.
Now, how did that? Because then by that point you're in the real throng of Soho with the Two Eyes Coffee Bar and all the rock and roll things that are going around.
I was a Two Eyes girl, you see. I was there when it was happening.
What was that like?
That was the heartbeat.
Yeah, because
it was the heartbeat of rock and roll.
We've been outside and filmed the plaque, haven't we?
Downstairs with the one piano and that tiny little room. You couldn't even move, so there was dancing, wasn't out? That's the hand jive, wasn't it?
So you saw all of these people really at the start of their blossom. So what was your thoughts on, say, Cliff when you met him and stuff like that? Was it? Oh,
I met Hank and Bruce before I met Cliff.
Right.
And yes, meeting Cliff was well. He just started. It wasn't overwhelming because who was he? You know, none of them were famous when we first met them. Mickey Most was bartending in the Two Eyes. Wow. Yeah.
Because he was then Mr. New Faces record producer, but a pop act prior to that.
Before that, they were the Most Brothers, him and Alex.
Wow.
Yeah. So I became friendly with those two,
And then when they became famous, did you find that kind of strange that, not that you'd met, but do you know what I mean? It's odd to watch people's careers go, isn't it? As you sit back and think, you know.
Yes, there were so many of them, all the Larry Parnes stable of, you know, the Vince Eagers and all the quirky names. Marty Wilde.
We've had Marty Wilde here.
Have you?
Yeah.
God bless.
We liked Marty Wilde and Vince Eager.
I think you'd like all of them. Wee Willie Harris, I bet you have.
Yeah, no, we've had him.
Have you?
Yeah, we've done quite. Tommy Steele came in. We did him at the Palladium. People like that. But it's interesting because their memory is not always like what you've just said, because they're quite they want to tell you the story that they've had written in a magazine, whereas you kind of know, well, look, Tommy, you know, I know you did this, but give us a flavour of what that's like.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
When you went to the Two Eyes and you're a young girl, you're very pretty, did you realise what you had, as it were? Did you realise how stunning you were going in there, because you were slightly famous yourself as well by this point, so you're going into...
Oh, we were more famous than they
that's
were.
what I'm going to
I think,
say.
at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So when you go in, people would have said, "Oh, that's, you know, she's a windmill
one
girl."
of the windmill girls. Yes, but I don't think we were aware of any of it. We were having fun, and it was just fun. And the Two Eyes was, well, I've got a picture of the Two Eyes on my fridge. Part of my life, that little place.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. But I don't think any of us thought we were particularly famous. I mean,
Well,
Wee Willie Harris came to my 16th birthday party.
But incredible
See?
when you think,
You
isn't
didn't know
it?
that, did you?
Yeah, no, but you know, that's what I'm saying. When you think now,
Yeah.
you know, maybe you see him or see some footage or something on TV, you don't always get that.
No.
Because you sit there and think, oh yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Wow. Another famous person that we adore in this country is, you know, and I think he's a genius, is Bill Pertwee. But a lot of people wouldn't realise that he had a career prior to
yes.
Dad's Army, but he had
Yeah.
a phenomenal career. I mean,
He did.
I met him a few times at Brinsworth House, and he was telling me how he did concert parties in Eastbourne and all sorts of different stuff before he got to this point. What was he like working with him? You know, what did he do when you were working with him? You know, what was his act?
He's my Uncle Bill, because he was like an uncle. He was warm and loving and friendly, and he was just lovely to be around. He and I waited in the wings together before we went on together in one scene, and we just stood there sort of snuggled up watching whatever was the scene beforehand, ready to go on, but just a little chat. Lovely. They were good men, happily married men, and they were, all of them, I mean, Arthur English and Bill Pertwee, they were lovely to be around. You never had to worry about them. I mean, we didn't wear very much, but it didn't matter with them around. It was Uncle Bill. He was charming too.
Of all the people that you worked with in that period, who then went on to become famous, say apart from Bill and Ray Allen and people, who was the one that made the most impression on you as, you know, being a youngster? Who did you think, or did you ever see anybody and think, oh, I know he's going to be big? Did you suddenly start to spot talent yourself, do you know what I mean, and think, oh yeah, they're going to do well?
I don't think so, because, I mean, they were already known. They were famous when they were at the windmill,
Yeah.
so, you know, they were, I knew who they were.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously Arthur English, he'd been famous for years.
yeah.
So I knew who they were, so I didn't think they were going to go on. I think I was surprised that they went on to become actors
Yeah,
in one way, because comics are good actors.
yeah.
They
They know how
really
to
are.
work a line, don't they? That's the
Yes, yeah, they
thing.
do. But no, I didn't spot anybody that I thought might go on to greater things. But of course we had people that were, even among the boys, you've got to remember who the Windmill Boys were.
And who were they?
Lionel Blair was a Windmill Boy. Bruce Forsyth was a Windmill Boy. William Graham was the child star of the Just William films in the 1940s. And he was at the Windmill as a dancer for about 10, 11 years.
Wow.
So,
Of course, Bruce married Penny.
Penny Calvert.
Yeah.
Yes.
We met Bruce quite a few times, and I think he's a fantastic guy.
Mm.
But his memories of there, he made me laugh actually, because he said all he remembers incredibly hard work. And he said when he was trying to get going, you know, he was quite despairing because nobody laughed at his stuff. And yet, within a few years, it had become this international, you know,
Yes.
palladium on this wonderful thing. What was he like then when he was in that period?
I didn't work with Bruce. He'd left by the time I got there. So I don't know, but from everybody that did work with him, he was a trooper.
Yeah,
He's a song and dance man through and through,
yeah.
and just professional and a trooper.
And Lionel Blair we've met. You know, we love
Yeah.
Lionel. I do. His enthusiasm is infectious,
Yeah.
though, isn't it? You know. Do you think with somebody like you talk about Bruce and Lionel, there's nowhere for these people nowadays to develop that from? What the Windmill gave you was a good,
Exactly.
you know,
What an
entree into thing,
opportunity.
yeah.
And we were all grateful for it. I don't
Yeah.
think anyone would ever say, oh, we should never work there. Everybody loved it.
Yeah.
It was such a happy, joyous theatre. And the girls were, I can only describe them as wholesome. I know it sounds silly because people think the Windmill Girls must have been a bit naughty. They weren't. They were really good, wholesome, healthy, well-fed girls.
Yeah.
There weren't any scrawny ones.
I know. I think that was in the list. It's quite interesting because all the girls are not, by no means, don't look wrong, but in today's terms, they'd be considered quite fuller figured, as it were. Yeah.
Well, yes, excepting that they did weigh us at one point, and I only weighed 8.5 stone. So we weren't big girls. We were quite small.
Yeah.
But we were well covered.
Yeah.
The aim wasn't to be stick thin. But of course we couldn't have done half of what we did do if we were full busted, so that was out. Quite small busted.
So let me take you finally to you're coming up to the end of your tenure there at the theatre.
Mm.
How did that end, and why did you want it? Did you want it to end, or how did you end up leaving?
I ended up leaving because I'd got married while I was at the Windmill, and I was 4 months pregnant, and the boys were complaining about lifting me, so...
And did you see, I suppose in those days you could have gone back, I guess, if you'd have wanted.
Oh, I would have done.
Yeah.
Yes, but they closed it the following year.
Oh, gosh.
So it went.
Yeah.
It closed. Sad, that.
What I was going to say, talk me through that when you first heard about that. Has there something been a big part of your life?
Mm.
You've gone off, you've had your child.
My daughter.
And you just think, right, I'm and in your mind you may want to go back, but you're not sure.
Oh, I was definitely going back.
Yeah. So how did you find out about it closing? Just in the...
Well, on the news.
Oh, wow.
Sort of the news. What? The Windmill's closing.
Oh.
So sad. So I took my baby up there to show the girls, and so came out again and thought that'd be the last time I go in there.
Wow.
Sad.
Yeah,
Very
must have
sad.
been.
It couldn't have gone on much longer. It was so old-fashioned. It was really a cross between music hall and It Ain't Half Hot, Mum.
That's an interesting analogy, actually. Yeah.
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 It was Revue-de-Ville. It was vaudeville mixed up with. It was concert party. It was everything, but it wasn't modern.
Do you think because you'd taken that time away to have your daughter, and then when you go back, you saw that then because...
No, we all knew it was old-fashioned.
So you knew when you were in it?
Yeah, we knew. We knew. I mean, yes. It was sheer music hall at times. I mean,
Yeah.
Mrs. Shufflewick.
Yeah. What was Mrs. Shufflewick like to work with? Because apparently, you read then again...
Rex Jameson.
Yeah, you read stories about how he's, shall we say, slightly fond of a drink or two and you know, all that sort of stuff. And I actually met him, but I didn't realise it was him, you know. It was years and years ago.
I bet you didn't.
No idea.
Little tiny... He was
Yeah.
a foundling, you know. He'd been left on a doorstep as a
yeah.
baby.
Wow.
He was a little foundling.
Because,
left
you know,
on a
they said,
hospital
oh, this is...
doorstep.
And I was very young, and they said, oh, this is Mrs. Shufflewick. And I thought... And I remember asking Dad, well, who's Mrs. Shufflewick, you know.
Rex Jameson.
And I didn't realise, and he was quite down on his luck in an awful sort of way. And then you look and think, oh, he'd been a huge star, you know.
Yeah.
But what was his act like? What was the concept of the act? What did Mrs. Shufflewick do?
Mrs. Shufflewick was Gladys, weak-willed and easily led by sailors often, and had acquired a mangy bit of dead cat that she wore around her neck. Apparently she got that after a night with a few sailors. On her head was a hat that had cherries, fruit, birds. She was everybody's worst old auntie, really. And she just sort of came on the stage, perfect comedic timing, and she would say, hello, dears, and relate tales of finding herself. She'd gone out with a sailor, and apparently he'd got so drunk she couldn't even see him. So, and then she woke up stark naked on the top of a number 9 bus with only her hairnet on. So
It's good stuff, though, isn't it?
I know. It was sheer musical, wasn't it? It was just.
But would it have
boom,
been seen
boom.
as quite shocking then, Jill, the stuff he was because to us it's quite tame now,
Oh,
but
it wasn't shocking at the Windmill because you couldn't swear. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a licensed theatre, so it was under the
yeah.
Lord Chamberlain's licensing laws. So there was no bad language; it wasn't allowed. But yes, you could hear over the tannoy, you could hear the audience laughing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you would never have known this tiny little man with a woodbine cigarette and a cloth cap walking in the stage door. People would just think maybe stage staff, electrician or something. But he was the tragic clown, he really was. So many were.
And was he was he friendly to you?
Oh
often?
yes, but it's very quiet.
Yeah.
It would just be beautifully spoken, very well spoken, polite, quiet. Nothing like Mrs. Schuff.
You get the impression that Vivian Van Damme, as you rightly said, is probably the Simon Cowell of his day and spotted incredible levels of talent, you know, when you think about it. When you think about him now, what are your sort of memories? You obviously smile when you think about him, but I mean, what, you know, obviously sadly he died just before the windmill closed. Do you think
I think
that
it was good that he died before it
I
closed.
was just going to say that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that may have finished him off, God forbid,
Oh,
because
yeah.
when it's
No,
their life, you
yeah,
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was his life. He was there all the time. But all I can ever say about Vivian Van Damme is thank you. Thank you so much for giving me and everyone else a chance. Who else would have done that?